Rishad, we know that outsourcing is slowing down because of the uncertainty in the global economy. Yeah. Where are we with that slowdown, and how soon can we expect recovery?
Yeah. Haslinda, it's been a tough year last year for the tech services industry. The good news is I find, and I'm hopeful that 24 will be a better year than 23. And we've just announced results last week. We were at the top end of our guidance compared to what we thought. So we saw some decent in-quarter execution basis what we saw from customers as well. But a couple of things that give me some comfort, right? One is just the conversations with customers and how they're thinking about their tech spend for 24. The other is just the way our consulting business is starting to see some uptick, right? And if I look at Capco, which is a large consulting organization that we bought a few years ago, they've seen double-digit order booking growth last quarter. To me, that's an important early green shoot indication of perhaps where spends can go. Having said that, I'm still cautiously optimistic. I'm watching it closely, but I am hopeful that 24 could look perhaps better than 23.
You talked about having some comfort. What are the risks out there? What's keeping you up at night?
No, I mean, certainly the environment is a difficult environment. We certainly have a fragile economy out there. I think the US is looking a little bit better as we speak. Europe, for me, is still quite uncertain. You have a large chunk of the world going into elections, and that creates its own uncertainty.
Including
as
India.
You come out, including India. You have just the environment with the geopolitical situation, a conflict situation with wars. And then you have just the whole world being disrupted with AI and what happens with AI governance, and how do you think about having just structure and transparency and safety from an AI perspective as well. So there are lots of uncertain elements out there. The comforting fact is some of these also become opportunities for us. Certainly, if you look at AI and how customers think about it, can be a huge opportunity as you move forward. If I look at what happened last year with AI, we had about 80 to 100 POCs where customers were experimenting. And I find more and more customers are really thinking about real business impact as they go into 24. So that can be the opportunity and the plus side as we move into an environment that's a little bit more favorable generally as well.
You talk about opportunities in AI. Realistically, when can AI be a key revenue stream for you or other Indian IT companies?
Yeah, I think it is becoming all-pervasive on two fronts, Haslinda. One, I think for organizations itself, we are disrupting ourselves with AI. We've just committed to sort of infuse AI in everything that we do. And I'll give you a very simple example. We've completely transformed the way we serve our own employees, leveraging AI. Today, I can go into a chatbot and apply for my own leave, ask for my own sort of Form 16, my tax forms, without having to engage with my assistant or anybody else in the office, without having to sort of click through 7, 8, 9, 10 screens. And we are seeing tremendous number of use cases built from an experience standpoint for employees. We're seeing dramatic change in how we are generating content for our marketing efforts. We're seeing tremendous traction in how we're generating sales material. How can we have our first RFI responses completely generated through systems? So there's a tremendous amount of disruption happening internally within the organization. And then customers, as I said, are very serious about moving from experimentation to real business impact. And I expect that only to pick up with time as we move into 24 and beyond.
So you're pivoting and you're adapting. If you take a look at India's tech industry as a whole, do you see AI disrupting it, even devastating it? Because traditionally it's always been an adoption of conventional AI, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. No, I'm very bullish about India and the tech services opportunity from India. India, to me, is the talent destination of the world. People used to come to India because it was cheaper, and people come to India now because that's where the talent is, and it also happens to be cheaper. And it's a very fundamental, profound shift in the way people think about it. The fact that we have a very strong, large-scale tech talent base, and how can you upskill and pivot them to be relevant for new skills that become important with AI. The opportunity is reskilling, and that's also the challenge. But I'm very hopeful that we can look at it as an opportunity. And there's tremendous support from government, from industry, and from company, top and down, to sort of drive that momentum, to sort of create the opportunity to be the skill destination from an AI perspective as well as we move forward.
There's not that much optimism when it comes to the skills level in AI that's needed to drive the industry. I mean, how is India coping with that?
No, I think the skills that will emerge on scale, I think, will still sort of get defined. But there's tons of opportunity. So, for example, I'll give you a very simple thing. We have now trained 209,000 of the 250,000 people roughly on Gen AI 101. It doesn't make them experts, but it makes them fairly informed and well aware of what Gen AI can do. The objective for that is because the organization doesn't transact where I sit. It transacts where the junior most associate sits, and if he and she can identify opportunities whereby they can leverage AI to drive and disrupt their own form of work, that can create huge opportunities. So there'll be deep technical skills that will be relevant. There will also be opportunities for skilled professionals to leverage AI to be more effective and more productive in the work that they do. They could drive 10, 15, 20% productivity. It doesn't mean their jobs will disappear. It just means that they can do 20% more work for the same job that they were doing earlier. So I'm deeply excited about this.
So given the opportunities that you're talking about, how are you looking at hiring and how are you looking at investing?
Yeah. Look, the beauty is our ownership structure allows us to think long term. We don't think myopically. We are certainly investing in areas that we think can be big and relevant for technology in the long term. Areas like cloud, which I think are still incredibly important. Areas like data and AI, because there is no AI without good data, good structured, accessible data.
Can you put a number to it in terms of the kind of investments you're willing to put?
So we've just committed $1 billion on what we call our AI 360-degree effort over the next 3 years. And this is not through M&A. This is through investments in building products, in building tools, in building platforms, in skilling our people, and the opportunities it creates with customers. So we've called it a sizable investment, and we're not buying our way into that investment. So there's this tremendous opportunity for growth if I look for over the next 3 to 5 years.
I want to talk about India. Some say that this is not just a moment for India, it's pivotal in its history. How are you looking at India's growth and the potential it holds? Can you sustain the momentum if China gets its act together?
Look, I am deeply bullish about India. We will grow almost 7% this year, financial year 24, which finishes in March. I really believe India can grow 6 to 8% for the next 10 years. We've grown largely over the last few years on the back of an infrastructure spend by the government. The consumption economy is thriving and driving to go forward, and India is probably the last big scale consumption market left in the world. As I talk to customers, and we work with 150 of the Fortune 500 customers, their openness to invest in India, their openness to look at India as a market is disruptively and dramatically changing. And with a government that's very pro-business, very open to sort of ensuring that we create that platform to attract investments, I'm incredibly excited at that scale and size to be able to grow with that kind of momentum for the next several years.
Election year, Modi widely expected to win yet again. What are you expecting from the government this time around? What are you hoping to see?
No, I mean, I can't predict elections, but I think, look, the
Assuming
good news
he comes
over the
to power,
last...
what would you like to see?
No, I think it's stability and continuity of more of the same. A very strong pro-business agenda which continues, a consistency and uniformity of policies, and I think a strong openness to recognize that there's still opportunities to sort of, make it easier for businesses to survive and thrive. But the most important thing would be just sort of stability and continuity that I think would be very powerful.